Facebook, Instagram, Meta, you see those logos every day, right?
Yeah, they're kind of everywhere these days.
Totally. And behind it all, there's this one guy, Mark Zuckerberg, born May 14th, 1984.
It really makes you think, like, how did this absolutely massive network, this global thing, how did it start as, like, just a project in a Harvard dorm room?
Yeah, that's what we're going to look at today. We've got a bunch of info from different places, and we're going to use Wikipedia to get, like, a really good overview of his life, the whole Facebook beginning, some of the legal stuff, the public perception, even his giving back, and how his views on the world have changed over time.
If we, zoom out for a second, we can see how important this deep dive is to understanding both Zuckerberg himself and the platform he created, Facebook, Meta, the whole thing.
For sure. Whether you're on Facebook every day or just remember the good old days when it was simple, we're going to explore how it all began, from a small thing to this global thing. We'll try to paint a clear picture of its origins, how it changed, and the things that shaped it. So to start, Zuckerberg was born in White Plains, New York, and grew up in Dobbs Ferry, right outside the city.
His family background is pretty interesting. He's from a Reformed Jewish family, had 3 sisters growing up, and his great-grandparents came from Austria, Germany, and Poland. That gives us a glimpse into the different cultures that might have influenced him as a kid.
Totally. And his schooling was interesting, too. He went to Ardsley High School first, but then switched to Phillips Exeter Academy, a pretty fancy prep school. Fun fact, he was captain of the fencing team there.
I know.
Right? But even before that, he was all about computers. When he was about 11, he built something called ZuckNet.
ZuckNet. What's that?
Well, it basically let computers in his house talk to computers in his dad's dental office.
Yep.
Super early, basic networking. Kind of makes you wonder if it foreshadowed what he'd do later.
It's like a straight line to Facebook.
Exactly. But that's not all. In high school, he created this thing called Synapse Media Player. Now, here's where it gets really cool. It used machine learning to figure out what music you liked. Apparently, PC Magazine gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and it even made a splash on Slashdot, the tech news site.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the New Yorker said, some kids played computer games, Mark created them.
That really says a lot about him, doesn't it? He wasn't just using technology, he was building it. And get this, he even took a graduate-level computer science course while he was still in high school.
No way.
Yeah, clearly a super bright guy. So when he got to Harvard in 2002, he already had this reputation as a programming whiz.
It makes sense.
He decided to study psychology and computer science, which is interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, he's building a social platform, but also understands how people think.
Right. Understanding human behavior and, how people interact, combined with the skills to actually build the platform. That probably gave him a huge advantage. And, of course, it was at Harvard that Facebook, or, the idea for it, really started.
Absolutely. Remember the Facebooks they had in the dorms? Physical books with photos and names of everyone living there? Well, that was part of the inspiration. But before we had the Facebook we know today, there was this other thing, FaceMash.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that. Wasn't that a bit controversial?
Yeah, it was. Basically, it took photos from the dorms and ranked students based on how attractive they were.
Kind of messed up, right?
Yeah, not the best idea.
Yeah. Harvard shut it down pretty fast because it overwhelmed their network and everyone was complaining about privacy issues.
Makes sense. I mean, that's a huge privacy violation.
Huge. Zuckerberg did apologize publicly for it, though. But even with this early kind of misguided thing, you can see the seeds of Facebook connecting people through profiles and pictures. I see what you mean. A rough start, but the core idea is kind of there. So he started coding a new website in January 2004, and just a month later, bam, the Facebook was launched at thefacebook.com.
Right. And it wasn't just him. His roommates, Eduardo Saverin, Andrew McCollum, Dustin Moskovitz, and Chris Hughes were all involved from the beginning. There's even a thought that something called the photo address book from his prep school days might have influenced him. Students there called it the Facebook, too.
Oh, interesting. This idea of a photo directory existed even before the digital age. It shows people wanted to connect and share info within a community.
I think so. And the Facebook was for Harvard students only at first, but it quickly spread to other universities. Columbia, NYU, Stanford, and a bunch more. Dustin Moskovitz was a big part of making that happen.
Right. It shows how much people wanted this kind of platform. It really tapped into that human need to connect, especially in those college environments.
Exactly. And to focus on this growing thing, Zuckerberg did something pretty drastic. He dropped out of Harvard in his sophomore year. Then they moved to Palo Alto, California. Huge step.
Silicon Valley, right. It was the center of the tech world back then, and still is in many ways.
Absolutely. And they got a crucial early investment from Peter Thiel, the PayPal guy. By mid-2004, they had their first real office.
That's a quick rise.
Really quick. And even at that early stage, they were getting offers from big companies to buy them out. But they said no.
Really?
Yeah. In a 2007 interview, Zuckerberg said they wanted to create an open information flow for people. They didn't want to be part of some big media company. They wanted to do their own thing.
That's pretty impressive, putting their vision before a quick payday. It says a lot about their commitment.
Totally. He did make some waves in 2007, though, at Stanford's startup school. He said, young people are just smarter, and suggested hiring younger people.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Pretty bold statement.
Right. It shows a lot of, youthful confidence and maybe the idea that the tech world moves so fast, you need fresh, adaptable people. But it also brings up an interesting point. Do you need that youthful energy more than the wisdom that comes with experience?
That's a good question. Hard to say.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Then in 2010, in an interview with Wired, he repeated his main mission. The thing I really care about is the mission, making the world open. And earlier, in April 2009, he went to Peter Curry, the former CFO of Netscape, for advice on financing. By July 2010, Facebook hit a huge milestone, 500 million users.
Wow, that's incredible growth in just 6 years. From a dorm room to 500 million users. It really shows how appealing the platform was and its ability to attract and keep users all over the world.
Yeah, and even with that huge growth, Zuckerberg didn't just go crazy with ads to make money right away. In 2010, he said they used way less of their pages for ads compared to, say, search engines, and said, we make enough money.
Smart move, I think. Focus on the users, grow the platform, then think about the big bucks. A lot of successful tech companies do that.
Makes sense. But of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were some big legal battles along the way.
Right, like the ConnectU lawsuit.
Exactly. Just 6 days after Facebook launched, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, those Harvard twins, and Divya Narendra filed this lawsuit.
Wow, just 6 days.
Yep. They said Zuckerberg had tricked them about their own social network idea called HarvardConnection.com and used their ideas to build his own competing thing.
Ouch.
Right. It went on for years, and they finally settled in 2008. Facebook had to give up over 1 million shares and pay $20 million in cash. It definitely put a bit of a stain on the whole success story.
It really brings up important questions about intellectual property, like who owns what idea and how do you behave ethically in the tech world. Sometimes inspiration and just stealing something can be hard to tell apart, especially when everything's moving so fast.
Definitely. Then there was the lawsuit from Eduardo Saverin in 2005, one of the co-founders. He said Zuckerberg was spending his money on personal stuff without permission. Yeah, it ended in an out-of-court settlement too, but the details were kept secret. Saverin did stay on as a co-founder, though.
These early disputes between the founders show how complicated things can get when a company grows so fast.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got friendships and a lot of money involved.
For sure. Then, in 2010, there was a weird thing in Pakistan.
So that's it.
Yeah, they launched a criminal investigation against Zuckerberg and the other co-founders. It was about a Dra Muhammad contest on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they even blocked Facebook in the country for a while until they took down that content.
That just shows how big Facebook had become. Operating in all these different countries with different cultures and laws.
Yeah.
Something that's okay in one place can be super offensive, even illegal in another.
It's a tough situation to navigate. And that same year, 2010, a guy named Paul Siglia sued Facebook. He claimed he owned a whopping 84% of the company.
What, 84%?
Yep. He said he had this contract from 2003 and that his initial $1,000 investment gave him that huge stake plus daily interest.
That sounds hard to believe.
It was. Facebook called it completely frivolous, and they were right.
Okay, yeah.
The thing is, Zuckerberg was working on other projects back then, like FaceSmash, but the website, the Facebook.com, wasn't even registered until 2004, after the date on that supposed contract.
Oh, okay, so his story fell apart.
Totally. And get this, Sedlia was arrested in 2012 for fraud and tampering with evidence. Turns out he'd made up emails and stuff to support his claim. Even some of his own lawyers dropped him.
Wow. It's wild that some people will go that far for money. And it shows that you can't just make up stuff and get away with it.
True. More recently, in 2017, Zuckerberg got a lot of flack for something he did in Hawaii.
What happened in Hawaii?
He filed lawsuits against a bunch of native Hawaiians who owned small pieces of land within his big property on Kauai. He wanted to force them to sell their land.
Oh, wow. Land disputes can be really messy.
Yeah, and people were accusing him of being like a modern-day colonizer.
I can see why.
Zuckerberg said he was just trying to clear up the ownership situation and pay people a fair price. He claimed he didn't know about the complexities of Hawaiian land ownership laws and customs.
It's hard to say what his real intentions were, but it definitely looks bad.
In the end, he dropped the lawsuits and apologized for not understanding the process. It definitely hurt his public image.
Yeah. It shows that when you have a lot of influence and money, you have to be really careful and sensitive to local cultures and laws.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of public image, Zuckerberg became the world's youngest self-made billionaire back in 2008 when he was only 23. And he's been one of the richest people in the world ever since. In March 2025, Forbes said he was worth a crazy $214.1 billion, making him the second richest person on the planet.
That's an insane amount of money. It just shows how successful Facebook and now Meta has been under his leadership.
He's also been on tons of most influential people lists, Time Magazine, Vanity Fair, and others. In 2011, after Steve Jobs passed away, Zuckerberg said that Jobs had given him advice on putting together a strong management team.
It's interesting to think about those two giants of the tech world. Jobs was all about focus and strong leadership, which probably resonated with Zuckerberg.
Definitely. And in 2012, he even met with Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian prime minister, to talk about social media in Russia.
That's pretty high-level stuff.
Yeah, even though Facebook wasn't as big in Russia as some local platforms. Then, in 2013, something pretty ironic happened. Zuckerberg's own Facebook profile got hacked.
Oh, the irony. It just goes to show that no one's completely immune to these security breaches, even the guy who created Facebook.
So true. In 2013, he also launched Internet.org, which aimed to connect people around the world who didn't have internet access. But it faced a lot of pushback in India, where people argued it violated net neutrality.
Yeah, net neutrality is all about treating all internet traffic equally. So giving people limited access to certain websites, even with good intentions, can be seen as going against that principle.
It sparked a big debate about internet freedom and control. Then, at the 2014 Mobile World Congress, Zuckerberg gave a big speech about how important mobile technology was for the future of Facebook.
Mobile was definitely becoming the dominant way people access the internet.
Totally. That same year, he met with Lu Wei, the top internet regulator in China, even though Facebook was blocked in China.
It's fascinating how he tries to engage with governments around the world, even in places where Facebook isn't allowed.
Yeah, always playing the long game. In 2014, he defended Facebook in a Q&A, saying it was a great tool for social engagement and connection. And in 2017, he went back to Harvard to give the commencement speech and finally get his honorary degree.
It must have been a full circle moment for him, going back to where it all started, but this time as a global icon.
For sure. Looking ahead, in 2019, he announced they were going to make Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp fully encrypted to increase user privacy. And in 2020, they started merging chats between Instagram and Messenger.
It's all about making things more secure and connected.
And it's not just social media. He's also on the board of Breakthrough Starshot, which is trying to develop technology for interstellar travel.
Wow. From connecting people on Earth to reaching for the stars.
I know, right? It shows he's not just interested in profits, he's curious about big ideas.
Yeah.
And then there's his philanthropy. He and his wife, Priscilla Chan, started the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of giving back. Their foundation focuses on things like science research, improving education, and promoting fairness and opportunity. They're using their wealth to try and tackle big global problems.
Absolutely. In 2010, they made a big splash by donating $100 million to Newark public schools.
That was a big deal.
It was. Some people criticized the timing, though, because it happened right when the Social Network movie came out.
Yeah, some saw it as a PR move.
And studies later showed that the impact on the schools was kind of mixed. It's tough to really change a whole school system.
For sure.
But in that same year, 2010, Zuckerberg signed the Giving Pledge, promising to give most of his wealth away to charity.
Like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. There's a trend among these super wealthy folks to use their money for good.
Totally. And in 2013, he donated 18 million Facebook shares to the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, which was the biggest charitable donation that year.
That's just an unbelievable amount of money.
I know, right? He's also given $25 million to fight Ebola in 2014 and $75 million to San Francisco General Hospital in 2015. They even renamed it after him and his wife, though not everyone loved that.
It's tricky, right? Even when you're giving millions, some people might feel it's not the right way to do it.
You can't please everyone. In 2015, they pledged to give 99% of their Facebook shares to the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is structured as an LLC, not a typical charity.
An LLC, that's interesting.
Yeah, it gives them more flexibility in how they use the money. They can even invest in for-profit companies that fit their goals, which regular charities can't always do. In 2016, they gave $600 million to start the Chan Zuckerberg BioHub, a big research center in San Francisco. And during the COVID pandemic, they gave even more, like $25 million to a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation thing working on treatments, $25 million to help local journalism, and even got Facebook to buy $75 million worth of ads in local newspapers.
Wow.
It shows they're willing to step up in a crisis and put their money where their mouth is.
Absolutely. So what about Zuckerberg's political leanings?
Well, it's kind of complicated. He registered to vote in 2002, but he didn't actually vote until 2008, and he's registered as no preference, party-wise.
So not strongly affiliated with either side.
It seems that way. But he has done some fundraising for politicians. Back in 2013, he hosted events for Chris Christie and Cory Booker.
Interesting. So he does get involved in politics to some extent.
He does. And in 2013, he started FWD.US, a lobbying group focused on immigration reform, education, and tech advancements. But they got some heat for supporting oil and gas stuff, which contradicted some of their other goals.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Lobbying can get messy, and sometimes you end up supporting things you don't fully agree with to achieve other goals.
True. And remember the 2013 PRISM scandal?
Vaguely. Refresh my memory.
It was that whole government surveillance thing where they were collecting internet and phone data.
Sure.
Zuckerberg said the government blew it in how they handled it.
Oh, right.
Then, after the attacks in Paris and San Bernardino in 2015, he publicly supported Muslims.
Good for him.
In 2016, he apparently told off some Facebook employees who were changing Black Lives Matter to All Lives Matter on company walls.
Wow, taking a stand.
So it seemed like he was leaning more progressive.
Yeah, definitely.
But things seem to have shifted. By August 2024, he said he regretted censoring COVID information on Facebook, which he did because the Biden administration pressured him.
Oh, wow. A change of heart.
It seems so. He also cut back on his donations to election stuff, the Zuckerbucks that people were criticizing, and he even said he's more libertarian now.
So less government involvement overall.
Seems like it. His relationship with Donald Trump has been interesting, too. At first, he criticized Trump, but then they kind of made up. They even had dinner together at Mar-a-Lago. Meta even donated to a fund linked to Trump, and in January 2025, Zuckerberg said some positive things about how the Trump administration handled tech stuff.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
You know, running a massive tech platform means you have to work with politicians from all sides, even if you don't personally agree with them.
Absolutely. And Zuckerberg has always been a vocal supporter of LGBTQ plus rights. Facebook's been very visible at events like San Francisco Pride.
Yeah, a lot of companies are becoming more inclusive and supportive of LGBTQ plus issues. It's a good thing to see.
No, on a more personal note, Zuckerberg met his wife, Priscilla Chan, at a party at Harvard back in 2003. They started dating then and there.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right. Chan moved in with him in 2010, and they got married in 2012. Now they have 3 daughters.
It's nice to see that personal side of him. You know, he's not just a tech CEO. He's a husband and a father.
Exactly. And they have this adorable dog, Beast, a Hungarian Puli, who's actually quite famous on Facebook.
I've seen pictures.
And get this, Zuckerberg commissioned a sculpture of Priscilla, which was unveiled in 2024. When it comes to religion, he was raised Jewish, but later said he was an atheist. But then in 2016, he said he thinks religion is very important.
So maybe a spiritual journey.
It seems like he's always searching and thinking about these big questions. In 2017, he went on a tour all across America to meet everyday Facebook users.
That's cool.
Yeah, he wanted to understand how people were actually using his platform.
Getting out of the Silicon Valley bubble.
For sure. And more recently, he's gotten into MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He even competed and won medals in 2023.
Wow.
I know, right? But he hurt his ACL, so his MMA debut is on hold for now.
That's too bad. But it shows he's got this competitive spirit, even outside of work.
Totally. And of course, we have to talk about The Social Network, that movie from 2010. It told the story of Facebook's early days and all the drama with the lawsuits.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It won a bunch of Oscars, right?
It did. But Zuckerberg wasn't happy about it at first. He said he wished no one had made a movie about him while he was still alive. And he wanted people to see him as a good guy. Which, not every movie portrays its subjects that way.
Fair enough.
The movie was based on a book that was pretty sensationalized, so it definitely took some liberties with the story.
Yeah, Hollywood loves to spice things up.
The screenwriter, Aaron Sorkin, later said he was wrong about some of the negative stuff in the movie and praised Zuckerberg as a visionary and a philanthropist.
It's interesting how perspectives can change over time.
And Jesse Eisenberg, the actor who played Zuckerberg, actually met him on Saturday Night Live in 2011.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Eisenberg said Zuckerberg was sweet and generous about the whole thing.
Well, that's nice to hear.
David Kirkpatrick, who wrote The Facebook Effect, a more factual book about Facebook, said the movie was only about 40% true. He felt like Zuckerberg really wanted to create a new way for people to connect and share information, and that was his main motivation.
Yeah, it's important to remember that movies aren't always accurate. They often change things to make the story more dramatic.
And Carol Balloon, a former Facebook engineer, said the movie's image of Zuckerberg as this awkward, friend-betraying nerd was exaggerated and mostly made up.
I can see how the people who are actually there would have a different perspective.
For sure. Zuckerberg has also popped up in other places in pop culture. He did a voice on The Simpsons, and he's been made fun of on Saturday Night Live and South Park. Stephen Colbert even gave him a Medal of Fear because he thought Zuckerberg cared more about his own privacy than Facebook users' privacy. More recently, Vanity Fair said he's been trying to look more like a MAGA guy, but Zuckerberg denies hiring a stylist for that.
Yeah, when you're that famous, people are going to talk about you, make fun of you, and analyze every little thing you do.
So when we look back at Mark Zuckerberg's story, from that Harvard dorm room to this global force, it's been quite a ride. Huge growth, lots of legal battles, a constantly shifting public image, and a lot of giving back. He's changed how billions of people communicate and share information, and his actions are always under the microscope.
And here's something to think about. How have those early decisions and the reasons behind creating Facebook shaped the internet as we know it today? And what are the responsibilities of founders when their creations become so powerful and influential?
That's a great question. It's something we all need to consider. And if you want to dive deeper into this, there are tons of articles, interviews, and even other films out there. This is just a starting point. There's a whole world of information waiting to be explored.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us.